Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. Marking this off my to-do list, making this video, that is. And Spotify, the music streaming platform, popular across the world, have they been filling some of their chill, ambient playlists and whatever playlists that they have on their front page? Have they been filling these playlists with fake artists? I myself did a video on this a while back where we looked through a few of the profiles of artists who you go on Spotify, you look them up, and they only seem to have these 2 or 3 tracks on the platform, a profile that is completely bare, completely skeletal, and yet they have like huge, very high placement inside these playlists that Spotify promotes very heavily, very openly. You would expect to, if you like a particular song from a particular artist, that you might click onto it and then find out that that artist has more music or an album or a career or something, which led to a lot of people just kind of scratching their heads and thinking, what's up with this? Like, who is this artist with this couple of songs? I've never heard of them before. I can't find out more about them if I wanted to. I'm looking for them, and all I can find about them is that they're on Spotify. I only have a couple tracks here, and it just doesn't make sense. It seems like I'm in another reality or something. So a lot of people guessed that Spotify was, including myself, commissioning music and maybe buying music and then just padding it out there so they didn't have to pay for it or something. And now there have been a series of follow-up articles on this same topic because I guess what's been happening is that Spotify has basically been placing interstitial music or soundbed music or Muzak into these playlists, and the company that they're getting it from has basically come forward and said, yeah, I mean, they're getting music from us. Now, that's not to say that Spotify is completely coming clean here and that the CEO of this company is completely coming clean here as to how all of this is working. And that's not to say that I think there's something illegal going on here. In fact, what Spotify is doing here seems very above board, but it's super questionable and not necessarily in the best taste, considering that Spotify has painted itself as being a company that cares about the industry, cares about musicians, cares about music, cares about the art form, and yet you're filling these playlists with just soundbed music that this same company licenses or allows content creators on YouTube to use this music just sort of in the background of their videos. You know, we're not talking about like the highest quality grade of ambient or instrumental music here, guys. Like, we're talking about like elevator music here, essentially, the modern equivalent to elevator music. Now, it's also kind of disappointing because I feel like this is a fault of Spotify's. I feel like this is also simultaneously a fault of these music labels who may have ambient artists on their rosters, and maybe they're not doing everything that they can to effectively promote this music to platforms like Spotify so that they actually use this music inside of their playlists, which is kind of unfortunate that you have artists out there who are literally losing a battle to Muzak composers. At the end of the day, the people who made that music, they're artists in their own right. They're musicians too, and they're getting paid off of these tracks. They're getting paid off of these streams for sure, without a doubt, no question. Those people deserve just as much right to make a living as any musician on, let's say, Cranky Records, you know, record label filled with ambient music does. However, it's still kind of concerning and still kind of upsetting that you can have these playlists on Spotify, which some articles have reported that you have in some instances, some of these playlists racking up 30, 40, 50% of the music on there is coming from companies or this company or companies like Epidemic Sound. Now, the reason this is happening, I'm willing to guess, is that it's probably just cheaper for Spotify at the end of the day. Like, they're probably not paying themselves off of the music that they stream to themselves. They're probably not freaking, signing artists to a label and then just paying out those artists, at a super cheap rate because they're on the Spotify label or something like that. That's most likely not what is happening. What's most likely happening here is that it's easier and it's cheaper to get this music from Epidemic Sound, whether it be, limited royalties or royalty free, what have you. And then you just sort of throw that music into the chill out playlist and people just start just chilling out and not really paying attention to what's going on in the background because you're essentially promoting it as background music. And as a result, people are just kind of letting it zip on by because that's mostly where these tracks are popping up on these ambient playlists, on these chill out playlists. When in reality, if you really cared about the art form, if you really cared about this genre and this style of music and the music scene and the music industry that you're supposed to be this major player in, like you should and would want to give back to it in any way that you possibly could. And merely allowing legitimate artists with actual careers and actual records out, merely allowing them to have a place and a spot and a prominent position in these playlists, which should be wall-to-wall artists like that, to have a position, to have a spot in these playlists, that would seem like one of the most easy and obvious and ways of kind of going about that and just seeming like you're acting in good faith. This to me doesn't read as that. While, as I said earlier, maybe there is kind of an issue with these labels and these artists not effectively promoting themselves to Spotify when trying to get this kind of music out there. Sure, that's possible. But it's not like Spotify doesn't have the resources to hop onto Google and find what some of the best ambient albums of the year have been, or find out what are some great new up-and-coming ambient artists, or look up some ambient record, some ambient records, some ambient music labels. There are plenty of them out there. I just, I don't know what to say, man. Just kind of disappointed. Obviously, again, what Spotify is doing here, they're just kind of grabbing Muzak from a company and the company is giving them the license to use it. And I'm sure that there's a monetary exchange there, whether it be off of the continued streams of the track or whether it be that or in some kind of lump sum up front. Not entirely sure. I don't know the inner workings of it, but it seems like it's all above board. However, is it in good taste? Is it wrong? Who is this a good business practice? And does this make you want to continue using Spotify or, using these playlists? Let me know down in the comments if this at all is disturbing to you. It is a little bit to me. It is a little bit to me, honestly, because it seems like if we're going to let this happen, what wouldn't we let happen? Down the road, would we just let, random Muzak producers just put together trap beats or rock songs and just merely let that play in the background while not really paying attention to what we're listening to? It's disappointing to me, to say the least. And I'm just kind of hoping that at the end of the day, Spotify sees its way to giving ambient music and instrumental music that they throw in these playlists a little bit more respect by seeking out the types of artists that have had long and storied careers and give them an opportunity to be exposed to a larger and a wider audience through these playlists and through these recommendation algorithms. How great would it be for numerous tracks from the new Mogwai album or the new William Basinski album, to show up on a new chill out playlist or a new ambient playlist or something like that. But I'm going to leave it at that. Again, let me know what you guys think down in there in the comments. And over here next to my head is my previous video on this topic. You can click on that or the link to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Forever.